The sky over New Montana burned red. Smoke filled the air as buildings crumbled. People ran screaming through the streets. The attack came without warning. No one was ready. Major William Carter watched the videos from Luna Base. His hands gripped the edge of the table until his knuckles turned white. The screens showed the colony's destruction from multiple angles. 3 million people lived there. Now many were dead or dying. "Play it again," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The technician nodded and restarted the footage. The crystalline ships appeared suddenly above the colony. They were beautiful in a strange way, like giant gems floating in the sky. The beauty lasted only a moment before they fired. Beams of blue light cut through buildings and people alike. No mercy, no warning. "Any response from them?" Carter asked. "None, sir," said Lieutenant Greg Howard. "They hit New Montana, then Liberty Point. Then they just left. Didn't try to land troops or take resources." Carter rubbed his tired eyes. He hadn't slept in 30 hours. "So they just wanted to kill people." "It seems that way, sir." A message came through on the secure channel. Carter tapped the screen. Admiral Susan Davis appeared, her face grim. "Major, I'm calling an emergency meeting. 1 hour. Level 10 clearance only." Carter nodded. "I'll be there, Admiral." The screen went dark. Carter looked around the room at his team. Young faces. Scared faces. None of them had seen war. Earth and its colonies had been at peace for decades. The military existed mostly as a peacekeeping force. "These aliens, sir," said Howard. "The Zorani. What do we know about them?" "Not enough," Carter replied. "We've seen them at the edges of our space, always watching, never talking. Now we know why." Carter walked through the white corridors of Luna Base. People moved with purpose, but fear hung in the air. News of the attack had spread quickly. Families on Earth worried about loved ones in the colonies. The government tried to keep people calm, but panic was growing. The meeting room was small and plain, just a table, chairs, and screens on the walls. Admiral Davis sat at the head of the table. 5 other officers were there. Carter recognized them all except one, a woman in a lab coat rather than a uniform. "Major Carter, thank you for coming," said Admiral Davis. "Let me introduce Dr. Jane Abbott. She leads our xenobiology department." The woman nodded at Carter. Her face was serious, her eyes sharp. "What we discuss here does not leave this room," said Admiral Davis. She pressed a button and the screens showed images of the Zorani ships. "The attack on our colonies was not random. The Zorani have been studying us for years. They chose those targets carefully." "Why?" asked Carter. "What did they want?" Dr. Abbott spoke up. "Based on what we've learned about their culture, they were testing us. The Zorani only respect strength. They attack other species to see how they respond. If the response is weak, they continue attacking until they've taken everything. And they think we're weak," said Carter. "They saw our peaceful expansion into space as a sign of weakness," Admiral Davis confirmed. "They saw our limited military presence and thought we would be easy prey." Carter shook his head. "So what do we do? Our fleet is tiny compared to what we've seen of theirs." Admiral Davis looked at each person in the room. "What I'm about to tell you has been classified at the highest level for 50 years. She entered, a code into her tablet. New images appeared on the screens. Ships, hundreds of ships, big, powerful warships. "I don't understand," said Carter. "These aren't in our fleet." "No," said Admiral Davis. "They're part of Project Nemesis. After the first contact wars a century ago, a small group of military leaders decided we needed insurance. While Earth pursued peace, we quietly built a hidden fleet. Hidden shipyards on Mars, Europa, and Titan have been producing vessels for decades." Carter stared at the images in shock. "All this time, we had this power and never used it?" "That was the point," said Admiral Davis. "We hoped we'd never need it. Humanity expanded peacefully, made friends among the stars. But we never forgot. That space is dangerous. We never wanted to be caught unprepared again." "Does the civilian government know?" asked one of the other officers. Only the highest levels, said Admiral Davis. And now they've authorized us to activate the fleet. The room was silent for a moment. Then Carter asked, "How long until we're ready?" "The ships are ready now," said Admiral Davis. "We need crews. That's why you're here. Each of you will command a task force. You'll select your crews from the best we have." She turned to face the main screen. It showed a massive ship, larger than anything Carter had ever seen. "This is the USS Retribution. It will be our flagship. I'll command it personally." "Admiral," said Carter carefully, "the Zerani killed millions of our people, but going to war—" "We're already at war, Major," said Admiral Davis firmly. "They started it. We're going to finish it." Dr. Abbott cleared her throat. "The Zerani didn't just attack us randomly. They've done this before to other species. They believe the strong should dominate the weak. It's their way of life. Then we'll have to show them how strong humans really are," said Admiral Davis. Carter looked at the images of the hidden fleet. So much power, kept secret for so long. "The Zerani thought we wouldn't strike back," he said quietly. Admiral Davis nodded. "That was their mistake. You're all dismissed. You have your assignments. We launch in 3 days." As Carter left the room, he thought about what was coming. The Zerani had no idea what they had started. They had never seen humans at war. They had never seen what happened when humanity was pushed too far. In the darkness of space, the hidden fleet waited. Ships with names that spoke of what was to come. Vengeance, judgment, reckoning. Earth had been peaceful for a very long time. But now humanity would show the stars why that had been a choice, not a necessity. The Zerani had attacked because they thought Earth was weak. Earth's response was coming. The engines of the USS Retribution hummed with power. Lieutenant Kate Miller felt the vibration through the floor as she walked across the bridge. The ship was enormous. It had been hidden in a secret facility inside Titan for 50 years, waiting for this moment. "Systems check complete, Lieutenant," said Ensign Paul Green. "Weapons are at full capacity." Kate nodded. As Chief Tactical Officer, she had spent the last 3 weeks testing weapon systems that had only existed in theory until now. The Retribution carried energy weapons more powerful than anything humanity had publicly admitted to creating. "Good work, Ensign," she said. "Admiral Davis will be pleased." The crew worked with quiet efficiency. Many were young, pulled from regular service, and quickly trained on this advanced technology. Others were older, part of the secret Project Nemesis. From the beginning, they had prepared for this day their entire careers. Kate looked out the main viewport. Outside, in the shadow of Saturn, more ships were powering up. The Vengeance, the Judgment, the Reckoning. 67 warships in total, hidden throughout the solar system. Earth's secret fleet was assembling. "Lieutenant Miller, report to the command center," came a voice over the intercom. Kate took a deep breath and straightened her uniform. The command center was where Admiral Davis was meeting with her senior officers. Kate had been surprised to be included. The doors slid open, and Kate entered. Admiral Davis stood at the head of a large table. A holographic display showed the Zerani attack on New Montana and Liberty Point. The room fell silent as everyone watched. The horror of it never diminished, no matter how many times they saw it. 3 million dead, said Admiral Davis after the recording ended. Our response must be decisive. Major Carter, who had been assigned as the Admiral's second-in-command, looked up from his tablet. News from Earth isn't good. People are panicking. The government is trying to keep order, but fear is spreading. They want us to hit back, said Commander Alan Scott. The public is demanding it. Admiral Davis nodded. And we will. But first we need to understand our enemy better. She turned to Dr. Abbott. Doctor, what have you learned? Dr. Abbott stepped forward. The Zerani are not like us. Their society is built around a simple principle. The strong dominate, the weak submit. They've conquered 3 star systems this way. They attack without warning to see how species respond. Those who fight back earn respect. Those who don't are considered unworthy of existence. So they attacked us to see if we were worthy? Asked Kate, unable to hide her disgust. Essentially, yes, said Dr. Abbott. They saw our peaceful expansion as weakness. They expected us to either beg for mercy or fight back weakly. Either way, they would know how to proceed. They have no idea what they've done, said Captain John Peterson. He would command the USS Vengeance once the fleet launched. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've perfected the art of war by practicing on ourselves. And then we chose peace, said Admiral Davis quietly. That was our greatest achievement. We expanded into space peacefully because we wanted to, not because we had to. The Zorani mistook choice for weakness. She touched the display, and it changed to show the fleet's planned route. We will launch in 24 hours. Our first target is the Zorani colony world Keltor 9. Intelligence suggests it's lightly defended. They don't expect us to strike back so quickly or with such force. What are our orders when we engage? Asked Captain Peterson. Admiral Davis's expression hardened. We show them what happens when humanity goes to war. The meeting continued for another hour, reviewing battle plans and contingencies. When it ended, Kate returned to her post on the bridge. The crew was working even harder now, knowing they would soon be in combat. On Earth, people gathered around screens to watch emergency broadcasts. The government had finally revealed the truth. An alien species had attacked without warning, killing millions. What they didn't reveal was the existence of the secret fleet. That would come later, after the first strike. Kate was checking the targeting systems when Captain Peterson entered the bridge. Lieutenant Miller, he said, walk with me. They moved to a quiet corner of the bridge. The Admiral speaks highly of you, he said. Says you're one of the best tactical minds we have. Thank you, sir, said Kate, surprised by the compliment. You'll be coordinating the first attack wave. It's a big responsibility. Kate swallowed hard but kept her voice steady. I'm ready, sir. Captain Peterson looked at her closely. Are you? This isn't a simulation anymore, Lieutenant. We're going to kill a lot of aliens tomorrow. They killed 3 million of us, Kate replied, without warning, without mercy. Yes, they did, he agreed. But we need to be clear about why we're doing this. It's not just about revenge. Sir? The Zorani attacked us because they thought we were weak, said Captain Peterson. They need to learn that humanity is not to be trifled with, but we also need to remember who we are. We're not like them. We don't kill for the sake of killing. Kate nodded slowly. I understand, sir. Good, he said. Because after tomorrow, the galaxy will see humanity in a new light. We need to be careful what we show them. The next morning, the fleet was ready. Crews took their positions. Engines powered up to full capacity. In the vastness of space, 67 warships moved into formation. Admiral Davis stood on the bridge of the USS. Retribution. Send the message to all ships, she ordered. Operation Nemesis is now active. The fleet moved as one, accelerating toward the jump point that would take them to Keltor 9. Earth watched them go, not yet knowing the full extent of humanity's response. The Zorani had attacked because they thought Earth wouldn't strike back. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Humanity's fleet was coming, and it was coming for vengeance. The jump to Keltor 9 was smooth. One moment, the fleet was near Saturn. The next, they were in orbit around a distant world. Keltor 9 was beautiful from space, blue oceans, green land masses, and swirling white clouds. It looked a lot like Earth. Lieutenant. Amy Rodriguez checked her fighter systems. She commanded Wolf Squadron, 12 of the best pilots in the human fleet. Their fighters were small but deadly, designed to slip past enemy defenses. All wings report in, she said into her comm. One by one, her pilots confirmed they were ready. Amy took a deep breath. In a few minutes, they would launch. This would be the first time humans had fought an alien species in over a century. Wolf Squadron, this is Admiral Davis, came a voice over the comm. You are cleared to launch. Your mission is to take out their defensive satellites. Clear the way for the main fleet. Copy that, Admiral, said Amy. Wolf Squadron launching now. The fighters shot out from the USS Retribution's launch bays. Amy felt the familiar push as her fighter accelerated. The sensation was always the same, whether in training or real combat. But today was different. Today, they were making history. Stay. In formation, she ordered. First target is coming up. Ahead, orbiting Kelter 9 were Zorani defense platforms. They were starting to power up, having finally detected the human fleet. But they were too slow. Wolf Squadron was already in range. Fire at will, said Amy. 12 fighters fired at once. Energy beams cut through space. The first defense platform exploded in silence, pieces drifting apart in the vacuum. The second platform managed to fire once before it too was destroyed. The beam missed Amy's fighter by meters. They're waking up, she said. Move to Phase 2. Wolf Squadron split into pairs, each targeting different orbital defenses. Amy and her wingman, Lieutenant Ben Foster, dove toward a larger platform. It fired repeatedly, but the human fighters were too fast, too nimble. They circled the platform, firing at key points. It exploded spectacularly. In the command center of the USS Retribution, Admiral Davis watched the battle unfold. Wolf Squadron has cleared 60% of orbital defenses, reported Lieutenant Miller. Ground-based weapons are now targeting our fleet. Have the Vengeance and Judgment move to these coordinates, ordered Admiral Davis, pointing to locations on the tactical display. Draw their fire while the rest of the fleet prepares for the main assault. Captain Peterson acknowledged the order. His ship, the Vengeance, moved forward. The Zorani immediately concentrated their fire on it. But the Vengeance had shields far beyond what humans had ever publicly deployed. The attacks did nothing. They're confused, said Commander Eric Bennett, head of Fleet Intelligence. He was monitoring Zorani communications. They expected outdated ships and minimal resistance. They don't understand what they're seeing. Good, said Admiral Davis. Let's confuse them more. Launch Phase 3. In her fighter, Amy received new orders. Wolf Squadron returned to ship. Main assault is launching. Amy looked out at the planet below. The Zorani were finally scrambling their own fighters. Too late. The human fleet had achieved complete orbital superiority in less than 30 minutes. That was too easy, said her wingman as they flew back to the Retribution. Amy agreed. They weren't ready for us. They thought we were weak. Back on the Retribution, Amy landed her fighter and rushed to the briefing room. Other squadron leaders were already there, along with Major Carter and Lieutenant Miller. Good work out there, said Carter. Phase 1 complete. Now for Phase 2. The display showed new targets. Zorani military bases on the surface. These were the facilities that had planned and launched the attack on Earth's colonies. Our goal is precision, said Carter. We target military installations only, no civilian areas. Why? Asked one of the pilots. They didn't spare our civilians. Because we're not them, Carter replied firmly. We're better than that. The room fell silent. Everyone understood. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice, and about showing what kind of species humans really were. The main assault began an hour later. Energy weapons fired from orbit, targeting Zorani military bases with perfect accuracy. Ground troops were deployed to secure key locations. The Zorani fought back, but they were outmatched in every way. By the end of the day, Earth forces controlled Keltor 9. The Zorani military presence had been completely destroyed, and they had done it all without a single civilian casualty. In the governor's building, now serving as the Human Command Center, Major Carter met with Commander Bennett. Any response from the Zorani homeworld? Asked Carter. Bennett nodded. They're in shock. They've sent urgent messages to all their colonies. We intercepted them. He handed Carter a tablet. They're afraid. Carter read the translation of the Zorani messages. They described the human attack as overwhelming and precise. They couldn't understand how a supposedly peaceful species had such military power. They're asking the same question over and over, said Bennett. Where did they hide their strength? Carter smiled grimly. 50 years of preparation, hidden in plain sight. The Zorani High Command has called for all available ships to defend their core worlds, continued Bennett. They think we're coming there next. Are we? Asked Carter. Admiral Davis is waiting for orders from Earth. But yes, I think that's the plan. We hit them hard, show them what we can do, and then offer terms. Carter handed back the tablet. Have the prisoners been processed? Yes, sir. Most are military personnel. We've begun questioning them. And what have we learned? Bennett's expression was serious. They still don't understand what they did wrong. In their culture, attacking another species is how you determine their worth. If we had fought back with our public fleet and lost, they would have conquered us and thought it was the natural order. If we had fought back and won, they would have respected us and offered alliance. But we hid our strength. We appeared peaceful when we weren't. Exactly. To them, that's dishonorable, confusing. Carter shook his head. They killed 3 million people to test us, and they think we're the confusing ones. News of the victory spread quickly through the human fleet. Morale was high. The first battle against the Zorani had been overwhelmingly successful. On the bridge of the USS Retribution, Admiral Davis received a message from Earth. The civilian governments had unanimously approved the next phase of Operation Nemesis. The fleet would proceed to the next Zorani colony. Send the message to all ships, she ordered. We jump in 6 hours. The Zorani had awakened a sleeping giant. Humanity had chosen peace for decades. Now they were choosing something else. And the galaxy would never be the same. 2 months had passed since the battle at Keltor 9. The human fleet had pushed deep into Zorani territory. 5 more colonies had fallen, each battle ending the same way. Total human victory with minimal casualties. On the USS Reckoning, Dr. Lisa Porter studied the data from the latest interrogations. As the fleet's lead expert on Zorani psychology, she was trying to understand their thinking. They still don't get it, she said to Captain George Wilson. The Zorani believe testing another species through violence is normal. It's how they've always interacted with other life forms. Captain Wilson frowned. His ship had been part of every major engagement so far. They killed 3 million of our people. Understanding doesn't equal forgiveness. I'm not suggesting we forgive them, said Dr. Porter. But if we want this war to end, we need to understand why it started. Wilson nodded slowly. Fair enough. What have you learned? Dr. Porter pulled up her findings on the main screen. The Zorani evolved as apex predators on a harsh world. Their entire society is built around the idea that strength deserves to rule. When they first developed space travel, they encountered a weaker species and conquered them easily. This confirmed their belief that the universe works the same way as their planet. The strong dominate, the weak submit. And then they met us, said Wilson. Yes, but we confused them. We appeared peaceful, with minimal military presence. They interpreted this as weakness. In their minds, a strong species would display its strength openly, as a warning to others. So they attacked to test us. Exactly. By hiding our military capabilities, we upset their understanding of how species should behave. To them, it seemed deceptive. Wilson's laugh was hollow. They start a war and then call us deceptive? The arrogance is unbelievable. A message came through on the ship's comm system. Captain Wilson, report to the Fleet Command Channel immediately. Wilson excused himself and hurried to the secure communication room. Admiral Davis's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, but determined. Captain, we've received new orders from Earth, she said. The Zorani Supreme Command has sent a message through diplomatic channels. They want to talk. Talk? Wilson was surprised. After everything they've done? They've realized their mistake, said Admiral Davis. Our next target was going to be Zoran Prime, their homeworld. They know they can't stop us. So they're offering unconditional surrender. Wilson thought for a moment. Do we trust them? That's what the War Council will decide. The fleet will rendezvous at these coordinates in 12 hours. Be there. The communication ended. Wilson stood there processing the news. After 2 months of fighting, the Zorani wanted to surrender. It should have felt like victory. So why didn't it? 12 hours later, the human fleet gathered at the edge of the Zorani home system. 67 warships still undefeated, ready to strike at the heart of the enemy. But instead of attacking, the ship commanders gathered on the USS Judgment for the War Council. The meeting room was crowded. Admiral Davis sat at the head of the table, with Major Carter beside her. Around them were the captains of every major ship in the fleet. "The Zorani Supreme Command has offered unconditional surrender," began Admiral Davis. "They request that we spare their homeworld and remaining colonies. In return, they will pay whatever reparations we demand and submit to whatever restrictions we impose." "They're scared," said Captain Peterson. "They should be." "The question is," continued Admiral Davis, "what do we do now? The civilian governments on Earth have left the decision to us. We were the ones they attacked. We should decide how this ends." The room erupted in debate. Some wanted to accept the surrender immediately. Others argued for pushing forward, for making the Zorani truly pay for what they had done. "They killed 3 million of our people," shouted one captain. "They need to understand the consequences of that." "And how many of them should die to balance the scales?" asked Major Carter quietly. The room fell silent. 5 million? 10? Where does it end? "We're not like them," said Lieutenant Miller, who had been invited to represent the tactical officers. "We don't kill to prove a point." Commander Bennett stepped forward with his intelligence report. "The Zorani are broadcasting to their entire species. They're telling their people that they made a terrible mistake, that humans aren't what they thought we were." "And what did they think we were?" asked Admiral Davis. "Weak," said Bennett. "They thought our peaceful expansion meant we couldn't fight. Now they know better. Their entire worldview has been shaken. A species that appeared weak but was secretly strong. It goes against everything they believe." Dr. Porter, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "This is a critical moment, not just for us but for them. The Zorani have never surrendered before. They've always fought to the end, because in their culture, surrender is shameful. But they're surrendering to us because they respect our strength." "Respect. Built on fear isn't real respect," said Major Carter. "No," agreed Dr. Porter. "But it's a start. It gives us a chance to show them a different way, to teach them that true strength isn't about domination." Admiral Davis looked around the room. "I want each of you to speak freely. What should our response be?" The debate continued for hours. Some argued for harsh punishment, others for mercy. Major Carter reminded them of Earth's history, of how cycles of violence had nearly destroyed humanity before they learned better. Lieutenant Miller presented tactical analyses, showing that continued war would eventually harm both species. Finally, Admiral Davis called for a vote. The decision wasn't unanimous, but it was clear. The human fleet would accept the Zorani surrender, but with conditions designed to change their society, not destroy it. "Send the message," ordered Admiral Davis. "We will meet with the Zorani Supreme Command in neutral space to discuss terms." As the captains returned to their ships, Major Carter walked with Admiral Davis. "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" he asked. Admiral Davis sighed. "I don't know. But I know this. When we launched this fleet, we said we were different from the Zorani, that we value life. Now we have a chance to prove it." The human fleet moved into position around Zoran Prime, not to attack, but to witness history. For the first time, the Zorani were about to learn that there was more than one way to be strong in the universe, and humanity would be their teachers. The meeting place was a space station in neutral territory. It had been built years ago as a trading post between different species. Now it would be the site of a historic surrender. Admiral Davis led the human delegation. With her were Major Carter, Lieutenant Miller, Dr. Porter, and Commander Bennett. They walked through the station's long corridors, their footsteps echoing in the silence. "The Zorani are already here," said Bennett. 6 representatives, including their Supreme Commander. Admiral Davis nodded. "Remember our agreement. We are firm but fair. This isn't about revenge anymore." They entered the meeting chamber. The room was large and circular, with a table in the center. On one side stood the humans, on the other, the Zorani. It was the first time most of the humans had seen a Zorani up close. They were tall and slender, with blue-tinted skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Their eyes were large and dark, with no visible pupils. They had no hair, just ridges along their skulls. The tallest Zorani stepped forward. I am Supreme Commander Zexlar of the Zorani Ascendancy. We have come to discuss terms of surrender. Admiral Davis introduced herself and her team. The two groups sat down at the table. The atmosphere was tense. Let me be clear, began Admiral Davis. Your unprovoked attack on our colonies resulted in the deaths of 3 million innocent people. There must be consequences for that action. Zexlar's expression was hard to read. We understand. We will accept whatever punishment you deem appropriate. Major Carter leaned forward. This isn't about punishment. It's about ensuring this never happens again. Not to us, not to anyone. Lieutenant Miller activated a holographic display. It showed the terms that the War Council had agreed upon. These are our conditions. The Zorani studied the terms carefully. They included significant reparations to rebuild the destroyed colonies, the dismantling of most of the Zorani military fleet, the establishment of a buffer zone between human and Zorani space, and perhaps most importantly, the creation of a new interstellar council where disputes would be resolved peacefully. You do not demand our total submission, said Zexlar, clearly surprised. You do not take our worlds or resources. No, said Admiral Davis. That's not our way. Zexlar seemed confused. But you have defeated us completely. You could take whatever you wanted. Dr. Porter spoke up. Supreme Commander, we understand that in Zorani culture the strong dominate the weak. But humans see strength differently. True strength to us is knowing when not to use your power. I do not understand, said Zexlar. You attacked us because you thought we were weak, explained Major Carter. You didn't understand that our peace was a choice, not a necessity. We built our hidden fleet not because we wanted war, but because we hoped to prevent it. Yet when we attacked, you responded with overwhelming force, said Zexlar. Yes, agreed Admiral Davis. We had to show you that we could fight. But now we're showing you something more important, that we can also choose not to fight, even when victory is certain. The discussion continued for hours. The Zorani struggled to understand the human perspective. In their society, showing mercy was seen as weakness. The idea that strength could include restraint was foreign to them. If we agree to these terms, said Zexlar finally, what assurance do we have that you won't attack us again in the future? Lieutenant Miller smiled slightly. The same assurance you had before, our word. The difference is now you know what happens when that word is broken. Zexlar conferred with the other Zorani representatives. After a long discussion in their own language, they turned back to the humans. We accept your terms, said Zexlar. The Zorani surrender to humanity, under the conditions you have set forth. The formal signing took place an hour later. As the document was sealed, Admiral Davis felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The war was over. Justice had been served, without giving in to the desire for revenge. There is one thing I still do not understand, said Zexlar as the ceremony concluded. Why did you hide your military strength? In our culture, a strong species displays its power openly, as a warning. Admiral Davis considered the question carefully. Humans learned long ago that showing off your strength often leads to conflict. Those who constantly display their power usually end up having to use it. We preferred to be judged by our actions, not our weapons. And yet you built the weapons anyway, noted Zexlar. Yes, said Major Carter. Because we also learned that in a dangerous universe, peace must sometimes be protected by strength. The key is knowing when to use that strength and when to hold it back. After the Zorani departed, the human delegation returned to their ships. News of the surrender had already reached Earth. Celebrations had broken out across the planet and the surviving colonies. The secret fleet was secret no more. Humanity had revealed its teeth to the galaxy. On the observation deck of the USS Retribution, Major Carter stood with Lieutenant Miller, watching the stars. What happens now? Asked Miller. Now we go home, said Carter. We rebuild what was destroyed, we mourn our dead, and we prepare for whatever comes next. Do you think the Zorani will keep their word? Carter nodded. I do. They respect strength, and we showed them ours. But more importantly, we showed them something they've never seen before. Strength tempered by mercy. The human fleet began its long journey back to Earth. The ships moved in perfect formation, a silent reminder of humanity's hidden power. In the decades that followed, the story spread throughout the galaxy, a peaceful species with hidden teeth who would respond to aggression with overwhelming force but prefer cooperation. The Zerani, once feared as conquerors, became advocates for the new Interstellar Council, having learned the hard way that there was more than one kind of strength, and no one ever attacked a human colony again. Not because humanity was feared, though they were, but because they were respected. They had proven themselves to be both strong and wise. The Zerani had attacked because they thought Earth wouldn't strike back. They had learned their lesson, and so had the rest of the galaxy.